Hey, what's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all. This is a one-on-one sports show. My name is Shawnee,
My name is Dante.
and wanted to kick it off another week of sports. I know the title, we might as well just jump on into it. The title thing we had was about Colorado and this whole 29-point lead that they blew in one half. So just to recap, it was a Friday night game, a 9 o'clock
Friday night
Friday
game,
game, which is kind of a
late
bad
game.
schedule. And hell, I actually fell asleep during the second half just because they was up 29-0 at halftime, and then I woke up, I think during overtime and whatnot, and I think already was showing like Stanford winning, but basically Stanford outscored Colorado 36-7 in the second half, and that's excluding the overtime where they both Stanford went ahead and won it in overtime. But it when the loss happened, you see more people trying to stick it to the Buffaloes about they showboat so much. A lot of them like to point at Coach Prime because he was a flashy player. But the thing about Coach Prime is, yeah,
Old school.
he was old, he was flashy back then, but you never question his effort. Like he gave it. You know, he knew work had to be done when it was time to. I guess some people think with the current Colorado team, they really enjoying all the publicity and the media, and they really going at that, and it kind of shows up on the field. The offense is still there, but that defense, I know they bad, but damn, they just terrible. They can't stop anything.
They can't. And I was, man, what's crazy is, and I'll say this before I make my point about the Stanford, because I do think we do this too much. We give too much, all the focus on the team that lost, that has the bigger name and the more appeal, and not enough to the team that won. But they are focused on this. Because Shador has made the holding up the wrist, showing the watch, he's made that so popular. And now that's become the thing. The watch is what, 70,000. Even Tom Brady said something, and I was like, even if it was made in jest about him having a luxury car, so I ain't even get out of the car and get to work. I'm like, man, Tom, have you seen? He's clearly going to work. Look at the numbers. He's doing the work. Stop getting mad that these kids are making this. Those conservative talking points on what these kids are making disgust me, because you're never once talking about that coach, that even if he sucks, like, a Jimbo Fisher down at Texas A&M, he gets fired. He's getting a nice golden parachute. So it's just like, come on now. But the fact of, what is his name? Elick, I'm trying to read it. Amanor, that young man had the
Number
game of his life.
13.
Yes, number 13 for Stanford, had 13 catches for 294 and 3 touchdowns. Had a longer 97. And it's just like that kid was just incredible. And it was just like, I know Travis Hunter, was coming back from injury, but now you got people questioning, man, is he might need to. I've seen leaks of, hey, he might need to pick one side of the ball. And I've seen people say he needs to play receiver, and it's just like, if you know anything about defensive back, you're gonna get beat. You're absolutely going to get beat. So it's like that happens. This was a rough game, first game back from injury. He was making plays on the offensive side, but they also got to take into account your body does get worn down playing both sides of the ball. And it's something that I think, hey, maybe they need to sort of maybe look at it as, hey, he'll play some possessions, defense, a few offenses, sprinkle them in. Because I think offensively, they'll be fine. But to get him up to par for that defense so he can be a lockdown guy, him and Shiloh can try to get that defense together. But the defense is absolutely terrible. And that's the thing. You got to give Deion the props for what he's been able to do as a turnaround and the success of. I remember I turned it in. It was 29-0. So, Johnny, I was busy doing other stuff. Just a lot going on. It's a Friday night. And then I look up and like, oh, I forgot that game was on. But I was like, it's Stanford. There was no appeal. I was just like, that was the one I counted before the season started. I was like, hey, you win these. You win Stanford, You beat Arizona, you beat Arizona State. Maybe you can push for a bowl game. Then you upset TCU, and you beat Nebraska as expected. But now they got a gauntlet schedule, and this is one that they needed to win. This is, and I
Yeah,
know my friend was like, "Hey, they're all one of them." I'm like, "Yeah, but we're clearly seeing up front. You're up 29-0, and the way the new rules in college football, you should be able to grind that clock out. They cannot run the football. I got the stats pulled up here, and I bet you nobody was probably over 3.5 a carry. No, wait, I'm wrong. One player had 1 for 14, so you got 14 to pop. You
yeah,
got 3.8, 3.1. The main back was wow. So Shadur had 13 carries, 2.8. Quarterback position, obviously, some of those are taken out depending on how many times he's sacked. I hate that about college. And so you got, Dylan Edwards with 4.7. It's just like they just don't have enough as a team. 3.8 carry on 35 attempts. That's not, so if you're wondering why, I don't know if they need to go and change the offense to cater towards the defense being so bad, but they've got to cover up for it. They've got to play what they call complementary football, which sometimes is
something
code
else.
for one of these sides of the ball not as strong as the other, so we got to help it out.
I remember during the broadcast, they did talk about the Buffalo's chances of getting a bowl game. And I read somewhere, I forgot exactly what bowl, but there was a specific bowl that was seeking them out. It was like we love to have Colorado in our bowl game. It was actually seeking them out because obviously if they get a bowl game, it's gonna that particular bowl game. It don't even have to be a big one.
You're going to get a
It's
prime
gonna get
slot.
exactly. It's gonna get some eyes on it. So that's why it was seeking it out. And what is it? Bowl eligible? You got to be have at least what 6 wins.
6. They
So
need
I
2.
think they already have 3. They definitely let one get away with the one after the Stanford game.
Yeah,
I
from
think they have
four
a
and three.
chance.
They got to get it. They
I think
gotta
that
they
they have
gotta
a
they gotta
chance.
reel off 2.
They just that defense just. I mean, you look at. I'm like, okay, Stanford don't have. Obviously, I think they only won one game themselves. They don't have the offense to come back from 29-0 in one half. Next thing you know, just big plays, big plays. I'm like, what the? It's like when I see that, it's almost like a team is kind of taking it for granted because I know it was a deal made because I don't know if it's 100% true or what. A lot of people always say that these athletes now they be having somebody else represent them on their social media stuff, platforms or whatnot. But Shador during halftime was posting like marketed
Yeah,
type
his
of
merch,
material.
his
Yeah,
merchandise,
it's
his
merchandise.
merchandise went live during halftime, and I can almost assure you, he's not going and picking up his phone during the halftime.
Yeah, because
Going
I
and
seen clips of
handling that.
Coach. He was getting on his players for having. I remember he used to do that in Jackson State. He used to get on
Yeah,
his players for having phones in the locker room. He used to come, get off your phone, get off your phone. So I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know
Part of
how Shador got that halftime phone or what, but I don't know. But definitely a
somebody
bad
has
look though.
access, and I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be surprised. Uh, Deion Jr. definitely does a lot of the marketing, shoots a lot of the videos.
Yeah,
That's his brother. I would not be surprised if he's the guy sending that out because that's the other thing about NIL. There is a certain amount of posts that you have to do, to make the money. So that is tied in together. So it's all tied in together. So I'm not surprised that he had it. I know that it was a bad look, but it's not like they lost the game because of that. But they
yeah.
always are gonna like
But
talk
they're
about
gonna
those
pile
things.
on if you gonna give
They're
up a
gonna
29-point lead in the halftime. They're gonna pile on everything
they're
they
gonna
can to try to present a
every
case.
everything. And the one thing I wanted to stop happening, and I know Dion has said it before, and he kind of bragged. He was like, "Man, you can't beat me. I'm done playing. You're playing against these young men, but there's somebody that has a serious problem with him and has to say something every time, and that's Danny Cannell, former NFL quarterback. I know he went to Florida
Didn't they
State.
used to be teammates?
I'm not sure what Danny's timeline is, but I do know from the pettiness of Twitter or X as they call it. I don't call it X, but they were showing the players, oh, this is why he's mad. He picked them off. I can't remember how many times and took one back to the house. And that was like, oh, this is why he's mad at Dion. And it's one of those deals where it's funny, but it is a deal where you can tell from Danny's. ideals. He probably doesn't even like NIL. I've had him for years. I've heard Mike Jones debate him and many other people talking about paying the college athletes as if the sport doesn't bring in billions of revenue. I don't know why you would have opposed paying those players. They are why people are showing up in the seats. Not Nick Saban, as great as he is. They're showing up to see the talent on the field. But they're gonna pile on. And I remember I put it in the sports chat I was in. I was like, it was Friday night. It might get buried, and it was like, nah, it's not really gonna bury this one. And I was like, yeah, you lose the lead, but I was like, I still felt it's gonna lose some steam, but obviously not. It's Wednesday. Our show's every Wednesday, and we're talking about it because it's a big deal, and there's a lot of people that are invested in how Coach Prime is doing at Colorado, and I always make sure to say how he's doing because the extra boost that they're getting the moment he takes another job, they're taking a dip, they're taking a hit, and so it's something that he has to take account for. I appreciate him stepping up and not dodging it, but they have to. That's inexcusable to lose that game being up 29-0. So they just got to learn from this. I know coming up this week. They got I think. Let me see if UCLA is still ranked. They're going on the road in LA against UCLA. So they have that one, and then they have Oregon State at home. Then they have Colorado at home, and then they visit Washington State. That stretch right there is going to basically, in my opinion, decide whether they make a bowl game. Because them going the last game of the season at Utah, I don't like their chances for that one. Because as far as the way they are defensively, and Utah likes to run the football, that's they're going to have a tough time with that one. You never say never, but Arizona is a team I think that's beatable, but they just keep fighting. They're 4-3 just like them, so they're going to look at them eye to eye. And right now, on the Football Predictor on ESPN, they got them as a 69% chance to win that game. And in fact, they went on the road against Washington State and destroyed them 44-6. Like I know they've been competitive. They lost to USC by 2, and I was thinking, oh well, no, they are really fighting. So that's going to be a dog fight. So yeah, Colorado. This was one that this was going to hurt if they're sitting at the season and just outside a bowl. And I know, and I hope they don't do this because they're going to be so popular. I hope they don't give them that they won 5 games if they win another exception. I just want them to go into the recruiting season, look in the portal because they still need a lot of help. And you got to realize to go from 1 win to 4, hey, that was something that was nice. But
according to Black Man, he said they're gonna be hell next season.
no, next season they're gonna be a problem.
Well, to me,
They're gonna be a real
it just
problem.
all depends on how they address the trenches, because that makes or break a team. I mean, and then they not. It's just always funny to me about the Pac-12. They damn near about to be extinct, and this is probably their best
Yeah,
season in
this
a
is one of the best seasons
long
in
time. Right
years.
now, Pac-12 is probably the best conference in college football right now, as far as the most consistent, I should say. Now they haven't played nobody in SEC yet, but just the most consistent. They got good teams over there, and they playing, and SEC. Yeah,
It's
Georgia
a
is
down year
ranked
in the
number
SEC.
one, but their schedule, you're like, man, look at your schedule.
Yeah,
You got
they
who's
haven't,
playing.
and it's one of those deals where you can't be mad at them for playing that type of schedule with
Yeah,
how that's the one thing Texas has to adjust next year to get out of that deal. They're playing Michigan at Michigan. Those games have to cease to exist. You are playing in the SEC. It needs to be on a random first November. If you're not playing a conference game, I think they align it every November, or I think it's November. All the SEC teams are playing cupcakes. If they're not playing a conference game, they are playing cupcakes. You have to get to that to let your young guys get in the game. Give your starters a rest. Let your guys. If you banged up this week, miss this game. Come back and play LSU. Come back and play Bama, whichever major foe you have to face in November. So try to make a bowl or push for the conference title because now I know it's going away from East and West. But yeah, it's certainly something that, man, I can't wait to see what they do recruiting wise. Again, a lot of guys interested. And if he could turn over the roster, he had to get 70 new players. Now he might not have to get 70 new players. What if he needs to get just 20 in the portal? And then along with the recruiting class, along with the class he had this year, I like his chances to do something. But I
I
still
see.
can't be not excited about the future. I gotta harp on the present, and I'm disappointed in that loss because I was invested. I'm up at 1 in the morning because I didn't think I needed to watch that game.
Well, I
Although
see. I
even
see
they said
Trey already.
everybody's schedule,
Trey
yeah,
making a bold
everybody's
claim.
schedule is not is like
He's saying
what's
that
going on.
he
We good.
thinks
I said it was
Colorado
a
gonna
wild week in
beat
sports.
Alabama. Trey says he thinks
Well,
Colorado gonna beat Alabama in the next 4 years. I'm like, you gotta slow your roll on that. Alabama
here's
is
here's
an
the thing on
established
that.
beast. They are an
That's
established
an
beast. They can
established
he can
beast.
literally Saban can literally go to kids home and say we'll make the playoffs, and damn near
He he's
be right about that.
he's literally said they've given his speech that he's giving the kids about, hey, we got this many, national champions, and we got this many
Hmm.
draft picks. He doesn't have to down recruit other teams. He just has to come in and put his rings on the table. But what I will say this, Trey, you got to realize this with it. I wouldn't be surprised for him to take the next job after next season because they're going to be in the Big 12, so they're going to get it bigger. So his job will be done with Colorado. They're back with a stronger conference from a dying conference, so they're going to be making more money, more TV money, all those things that are important. Money is the most important. And Shador will be a senior, so he'll be out of eligibility. Travis Hunter will be draft eligible. I think they're both going to leave and go on to the league. And I think Dion is going to take his next coaching job, which I would say probably the SEC, an SEC team, or maybe a Big Ten, a Big Ten school, maybe that.
Yeah,
So
they think Prime's. He's saying Prime's time is coming and whatnot. I mean, I hope it is, but it's hard to say Prime when you compare him to Nick Saban. That dude is just established. I mean, right now Nick Saban is viewed as the best college coach of all time. I think he done passed up Bear Bryant. He done
he,
passed up some other big college
you are
guys.
right about what you
So it's
said
just
about the
like
portal. You're right.
Prime hasn't showed. He hasn't showed anything yet. I mean, man, he gotta show that he can recruit the players. Those players can consistently produce on the field. Because Colorado can recruit their players, but you already know Alabama recruiting theirs, and so it's going if Colorado ever gets on the same level as Alabama, that means it's a serious shift in college football. Because I mean everybody been gunning for Alabama for at least a decade plus.
Yeah, they've been gunning for a while, and plus, I think the closest replica you could get to it, and they better find another good quarterback, or they're not going to last. Is Georgia? Kirby Smart was the first assistant to be able to successfully do the Alabama model and get the same type of players, like the type of players he has at Georgia that you've seen these last two drafts defensively. Those are the guys that used to all be at Alabama, and it's just it's just one of those deals where those powers are gonna be there. Like he said, man, the transfer portal has changed it to where teams can like Colorado can come overnight. That next year would be the year where you would expect a little bit of improvement after a full recruiting class and before the transfer portal. Now with the portal, you come in year one, you can compete, and you're going to see coaches get. You've already heard rumblings. Coaches get less time now. Those boosters are paying big money. When coach, just to let y'all know, when a coach gets bossed out of his contract, those boosters are paying that money to get the new coach. Like the school's paying the
Yeah,
coach the new money, they're
yeah,
paying the buyout. So I just want to let everybody know that those guys have a lot of influence. That's why Texas is so toxic because you got just so many
boosters.
100 millionaires and billionaires. So they are coming in and they want to, and it's not just a booster like, oh, I'm paying for this. It's like my name's on the building or this is going on. It's so much going on. It's so much going on there where they have it's things behind the scene and it makes it uncomfortable for a coach. And so I hope he has success. I think he will, but I think the level of success he will have, it will change the expectations. And so that's going to be tough on those young men to deal with.
I see black man saying Nick Saban won a lot, but nobody has brought more attention to college football like Dion in Colorado.
No,
Um, I I guess as quickly as a flash, it yeah, it was, Colorado in prime, but also Alabama, they done they done reached that point where it's just like they're just good. They're gonna be there. So now it's of course the new team that's getting all this media. Cause right now it's just media hype. They of course they doing better than what they did last year because they got 4 wins instead of one. But they still, as we just talked about when we first started off with the segment, they losing the embarrassing games like they did against Stanford. Their defense is just so far behind. Now their offense has shown that it could contend. Now, when you put them against a team like Oregon, that's completely different because Oregon destroyed them in the trenches. All these other teams, they kept trying to pass. If you keep passing against Colorado, you're gonna give them a shot. But Oregon is like, man, we don't really pass the ball like that. We're gonna just beat you straight up in the trenches. And Colorado couldn't do a damn thing about it. And that's Alabama. That's Georgia. Hell, that could be LSU sometimes when they're on their good year. So yeah, I guess right now Colorado has the attention on them, and it looked like it may be kind of, I don't want to say winding down, but it's definitely not as bright as it was the first 3 games of the season because they're not winning as much or they losing big or whatever the case may be. But yeah, you're looking at Alabama. Alabama just reached that point where they just established. You just know it makes big news when they lose a game. So people just kind of want them to. They kind of getting tired of them winning all the time. Right now, Georgia is the top dog, but they still got to go through Alabama, and I think Alabama still has like a better record versus Georgia for the most part, besides the SEC title game last year. So I like the fact that Colorado is getting attention. I know you see a lot of people saying about once Shador leaves, that Prime going to go to the NFL. I don't know how much time he got to say he does not want to go to the NFL.
He said he doesn't want to go. He said it. The only thing I'll give the people that say he's going to the NFL, he did say once, man, I hope they don't cut me a check. He's kind of let that slip. I hope they don't cut him a check big enough to make him want to go.
Well, no, I say that because he really enjoys coaching.
He does, the young men, and he wants control. Like let's be real about this. This is a guy that has gotten a lot of attention, and coaches care about their ego a lot, and he wants to mold the program. When you get to the league, just look at Nick Saban, who is, one of the greatest college coaches. He had what's going on. I like a lot what you're saying, man. I like a lot what you're saying in the chat, man. I appreciate you hopping in because the loyalty is gone. It's for the bad, but it's also for the real. I hate it when guys used to have to sit 4 years and just get stuck because the Alabamas or the Georgias of the world just scored the talent. Now I can go. Coaches have no loyalty. They sell you on the school, and then what is it? I heard one player that went to Texas once. He came to Texas because on his recruiting trip, the coach left. The coach left in the middle of his trip, and he was just like, that killed the school. And it's like, it is a dirty, nasty game. The love of the game and my alma mater, and man, it's a dirty, nasty game. So it's like, I don't mind the players going and finding their opportunities. They only get 4 years at this.
Yeah, I think, everybody think it's Colorado. And when I say this, people think I'm hating on Deion. Like, I'm a Falcons fan, and I have a deep love for Deion Sanders, right? But what happened is when he went to Colorado, the portal give him the option to build a team almost like a fantasy team, right? Mm-hmm. The portal give a coach the ability to play fantasy football, and that is what's more attractive. I can guarantee you, if they would have forced him to play with that team he had last year, and like our college football was the same as it was a year or two ago, we would not be watching Colorado. What he was able to do is to be able to get some high-level people who already had buzz and bring him to the school, which the portal gave him the plans to build the team. I can tell you right now, we can take Michael Vick, let Michael Vick go coach somewhere and build a team. It's going to grab attention for us to go watch because this is your personal pick. So I'm gonna stop right there before I go in a little bit deeper. Do y'all think I'm off that it's the portal?
No, the portal. You 100% about that.
No, you're right on about.
It's another
about
program.
The portal. It's an equalizer.
I forgot that's doing the same thing.
The portal's an equalizer. The only thing I'll say is I'll object. The thing about there's only one Dion. There's only so few people that have been as great as he is, as charismatic, that people want to be a draw to. And like
Mm-hmm.
everybody is a draw to Dion. He's Affleck commercials. Whereas other players, like I know a lot of times people say, "Well, Eddie George is over here." It's like, bro, Eddie George isn't Coach Prime, bro. It's like it's a different thing. I love what he's doing at Tennessee State, but it's like he's not going to be the same draw. But
But
I'm with you on the transfer
you know
portal
the
is a big
difference.
key
The
to the
difference
success.
is that he's the only one doing it. Imagine if I could take 5 or 6 NFL players and give them their own team. I promise you, it's because he's the anomaly. He's an anomaly in the space right now. He's the only one who had a successful career in actually coaching these boys. A lot of people who had the success that Dion says, they believe they're above coaching, especially at the college level. They believe that that's beneath them. But I believe it's just because how rare the situation is. A black coach who came back, and when he was coaching at Jackson State, that wasn't a good wage that we would talk about that he should have been making as an NFL coach, if we're being honest. So a lot of people haven't humbled themselves, but we had like 4 or 5 top players, or like Tom Brady. Let me give you an example. Tom Brady decided to go coach college football. We gonna be like, everybody's gonna watch that. Everybody, at least the opening game, they're gonna be like, I want to see what he's able to do if he can build his own team. So I think he's just an anomaly right now, and that's why we give it so much attention. I really hope that they win, but I think the problem that Dion's going to run is he have to win it next year. He have to win it as his son as a senior, or that team is going to be a totally different team. He hasn't had the chance to coach somebody for 12 years. I don't believe that he's going to have that same relationship with a new coach, as I don't think that he's going to have that same relationship with a brand new quarterback as having a relationship with coaching somebody for the last 12 years to kind of make him into the player that you want. We're going to see when he get a new quarterback, it's going to be a total different team.
Well,
I'm with you on that. I'm with you
I
on that.
I think he's going to be able to recruit because his personality, he'll be able to recruit a variety of players because he
Martin,
mentioned it when he goes into a household, the parents know prime time, so they fall in love with prime time, and then the players it'll just be Coach Prime. Now I know for the most part, his quarterback has always been his son, and that I think Prime will be able to adjust to a new quarterback. The thing I'll be asking myself was how will Shador be once he makes that leap over to the NFL, and it's not going to be his dad, his coach for the first time. So that's what I'll be thinking between the two. But yeah, I think he'll be able to coach a new quarterback when it comes down to it.
it's almost like we arguing this point like Michael Jordan, right? Would Michael Jordan not been good if he didn't have Pat Riley? I think Michael Jordan would have been good at any team that he went to. I know a lot of people might argue that he had to have that coach. Let me give you another example. I believe his son upside is really big because his son is a quarterback that have the ability to think for himself.
Oh
Like
yeah,
what
he's legit. He's legit.
like the point that
He made him into a pocket quarterback.
Hmm.
yeah,
That was
like
one of the
so
biggest things he
I
did.
strongly believe
It
that
was.
I think it's gonna be hard. I think that first year after his senior, so we're talking in 2 years, that year after his senior year, being able to build something that first, because you gotta understand that this relationship is built over a lifetime, right? What we currently see. But when you talk about I'm gonna have to walk into your house, build a relationship with you, and still be able to have that functioning that I had with my son, I think we're gonna see a big difference. I think it's
I
hands
think
down gonna be a big difference.
I think you're partially right, E. And with the Sun thing, the unique thing is that he has to recruit his next quarterback now, meaning that quarterback need to be there watching Shador next year. His next quarterback that's supposed to be the guy when Shador leaves has to be there next year, watching and on getting reps and all of that, because by that time he'll be a sophomore when it's time for him to start. You understand what I'm saying? So if he does that and he gets the guy that he wants, that he can trust, and he can input everything that they need to input to the guy, they'll be fine. He got to get the big guys. Once he get his left tackle, his offensive guards, and all those guys and guys up front, he's straight. But the thing is that if you don't have that, you have no shot. and we see it all the time when the draft comes around. You see the guys that get drafted. And just imagine if his alma mater would have gave him the job. This would not even be a conversation right now.
Yeah, people thought he should have went to Florida State before the Jackson State job, but Florida State didn't want to. They wanted him, which I can't blame them. They wanted a more established coach, but
Yeah.
little did they
I'm gonna
know.
argue
But you see what they're getting in Colorado, this whole media machine. Florida State definitely could have profited off of that.
So,
Bruh, they could have took the whole they would have took the whole state over for recruiting. Florida, Miami had no shot, bruh.
Well, I get that point, but we got to talk about where he's at now, which is Colorado. And I'm
Yeah,
gonna
go
tell you
ahead.
right now, for that defense to be an elite defense, they got to get rid of eight of the top 11 players. Everybody keep thinking that it's just that upfront line. No, Oregon exposed that because that was the easiest thing to expose. But if you look at their secondary, Oregon picked them apart. And remember, Oregon is the team that got blown out by Georgia. So we're not even talking about.
You can just look at how Stanford did them with that secondary.
But they don't have a pass rush. They don't have a pass rush.
It's hard to get that.
Had a pass rush. What we saw in that Oregon game, that the Oregon receivers had their way. They was able to score and catch the ball however they seem fit. And that secondary is a problem. The only thing is what we're seeing is right now that front line of the defense is so bad that it almost gives that secondary a cushion. Look at the Stanford game. When they really start picking that secondary apart, like the one thing that they have is they have this oldest son. His oldest son on defense, he's kind of like carrying that team, but you can kind of see it. Like if I was a coach on the other side, I'd pick his defense apart. And he knows that the biggest thing that he knows is that my son can go touchdown to.
He can score. Yeah, he can score. That's the problem, E. That's the problem, E. They don't have the running game to keep the defense off the field.
No, they don't.
They have to pass.
But that's okay. Listen, even if they had the running game, right? So we know everybody need to go except the center. The center might be the only one we see that last year. But both we know
he is in the portal. He is in the portal during the season.
Well, so I think what we're looking at, because this is very important what we're looking at. So the first thing that we're looking at is that they have to establish a run game, but just because I establish a run game, it does not fix my defense. Just because I can run, my defense is still a problem. You got to understand that the average team is scoring 45 on this defense. That is bad.
That's what me and Dante was saying earlier.
Yeah,
their defense is terrible. Their defense is flat out terrible.
It has to be improved. It has to be improved.
That defense is worse than Texas Tech used to be, man.
We got to paint the picture that it's not just that 4 men up front. We got to paint the picture. It's 8. They need to swap out about 8.
But the thing about it, though,
linebacker and the safety. That's about it.
But one quick point I want to bring up either right now, today's youth, they love the spotlight or they love that attention. And right now, Colorado is giving that, even though they're not. Well, they winning. If you keep comparing them to last year, because they only won one game, but they getting that attention. So they know, okay, this is a potential place that we can go. Cause think about it, man. Colorado really haven't got this type of attention since over a decade.
Cordell Stewart, probably Cordell Stewart.
Exactly. Rashawn Salam back in those days.
Yeah.
That's early '90s. So
and we were little kids.
So when the youth today see that the attention that, because one thing Prime knows, he fully embraced this new marketing, social media. That's why you got his other son, the one who's doing the filming. I believe, like Dante brought the point, Deion Jr. probably was one who probably was doing the whole marketing thing for Shador when everybody was talking about Shador sending marketing during halftime. But he fully embraces this whole social media thing, and the young generation today, they love that. So, yeah, right now he's just experimenting. I mean, he got some players off the portal, put them out on the field. They performing better than what anybody expected. Now when he finally gets to go recruit, and he got like the players could see, okay, what Colorado has to offer them. It'll be a different story next year, and then the following, even though his son will no longer be the quarterback, the year after next, So he'll have chance to recruit, and that whole thing I said earlier about the parents love prime time, so they'll love for him to come to their home, and with he's so charismatic, a lot of players will come to him based off of that. So
I think it's an ugly truth that we're not addressing, right? The ugly
What's
truth
that?
the ugly truth is that with this a type of attention, a lot of people who might have the potential to go to the next level, they're not going. See, it's easy for me to hide my talent into a system. I can go over to Nick Saban and play in the system. He's gonna swap me out. All I gotta do is have a good play every now and then, but that's not what we see in Colorado. Colorado is putting the pressure on it that you have to perform every single play. If you ever went back and watched the tape, I know a lot of people don't do this, they just watch the game. But if you really look at the assignments that are missed on tape, I would not take them at the next level. So some people, I get it. You saying some people saying I want to go and get my attention. I want to go over there and get some type of fame. But a lot of people are saying, I don't know if I want that type of exposure because it'll show how vulnerable I am at the next level.
I don't agree with that one, just from the standpoint of if you can play, they're going to find you and they're going to get you isolated and they're going to look to the first thing they're going to say is, why are you on this type of situation? Why are you on this team? Why aren't your team winning? What is your what is your height? What is your weight? What are your measurables? If you have the measurables, they're going to get down with you. They're going to at least give you a chance to look at you. And with and I know it's tough to get on the Senior Bowl list and it's tough to get the combine invite. But if you are of a certain off certain measurables and you're with the attention they have, they'll know the fluff. But the guys that are the scouts are going to pay attention. The West Coast scout for whatever team they're at or whatever college Dion goes to, they're going to go and pay attention to you. So yeah, it is a downside to the attention. But I think if you got the talent, I don't think the attention is going to stop them from looking at a Travis Hunter.
All right, so
because the recruiting stuff does matter for where you get taken and placed.
All right, well, let's ask the question. So, who do you think on that defense is getting taken in the NFL?
I think the only one who has
only two have a shot.
Shiloh, he has a chance to get invited to at least the combine. They'll turn it from there. I think Travis Hunter has a damn good chance.
And the freshman corner, the other freshman corner. What's his name?
You talking about that 5-star corner?
He's a freshman. Eat a man. He's a freshman.
Well, the thing about him, he got some other stuff. Apparently, he's not really taking. I don't know. He's not. I want to say
he's not taking it serious.
Yeah. So he's not getting the play time because I think he had a good game versus. Was it Colorado State? Even though Colorado State receiver went off, it was one team. It was Arizona, and then the very next game, I think it was Arizona State. Even though Colorado came back and won that one, he was screwing up his assignments and everything. So, yeah, he basically got a lot of maturing to do. Basically, I just put it like that for him to get more playing time.
I think, and I'm not saying in the future, everybody keeps giving him the excuse that he's a freshman, but okay, cool. But right now, two people. It's two people on that I even look at. I'm not even saying that I take it the next level. So that discard 8 of them, right? We bring in a new 8. Remember, the new Porter system, you have a year to prove yourself. You don't have a year to develop. See, that people don't understand with the portal, I can't develop. Usually I can hide in Nick Saban's system on second string. And about my third year, I can develop and become the player that I need. Oh no.
100% true. You got to get it done. You will either have to do it yourself or they will come to you and have that conversation to say, hey, this is our depth. We don't see you fitting in. And then you get to that last step before you transfer is they switch your positions. You switch that position, like you go, I'm going to try to this position. Because I want to say I'll follow Texas. And they were like, when you see a guy switch, and I was like, that guy was a 4-star a couple of years ago. It's just like, portal coming soon, or you don't hear nothing from him. And, that's going to happen. And that's why the turnover from getting 70 new players, I don't expect nobody to get drafted from this team. It has to come now next year, going into the Big 12, they have another challenge, which is unique to where it's going to be a league in which you don't fully know. So, you've scouted, but you've never played these teams. So it's going to be a challenge that way for winning. But I will say, with Texas and OU leaving, I mean, and depending on what kind of schedule they get, they should be competitive depending on the type of recruit they do. But he got to hit the recruiting trail hard. He's got to hit the guard, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be some promises of playing time, which that gets tricky because you promise the playing time and then you get the pouting, and it's not going to be an easy role. But I do see potential for him to still continue to win. I do see that, but
Well, I'm not saying that the team is not going to win. It doesn't benefit me to develop you anymore, because I used to develop you over 3 years because you was my only choice. I had to go and recruit you from it. But now we're gonna say, Dante, you had a bad year. I'm going to the portal to replace you. That's literally what we about to start seeing. You had a bad year. You didn't perform the way
because it's already hurting. It's hurting incoming freshmen. Like so many people have mentioned, like the incoming
Yeah, it
freshmen, other
is.
than the top elite of the elite, it's tough to get there and develop and do things like that. I think we're still figuring out exactly how it's going to be. Like it's just a tough reality. So you have to figure out if you have to make that choice where you go. It's super important. It's more important than it used to be. Where all right, if I need to transfer, I'm gonna have to set out a year, get everything together. Or like he said, I get to develop for a year. I get the red shirt this year, and then by the time I am a red shirt sophomore, I'm getting more playing time. I'm competing for a starting spot. It doesn't always work that way now.
Yeah, and
It
it's
doesn't at
and it's
all.
and the guys. It's still some kids that are from the C19 stuff too, because they lost years.
Yeah,
I know that because
and
my
that's
son's a college athlete too. So some of those kids are still around. They might be on their fifth or sixth year
I think
because
Michael
they
yeah.
Penix
lost a
and
year or two.
Bo Nix are like that. Aren't they both? I
Yeah,
watched it. They both in their 6th year. I'm like,
because
damn,
Yeah,
these
I want to
dudes
yeah.
say
are cool
because
forever.
what's the name came in and he was here at 19. He was a true freshman starter at 19 for Auburn, and so that's why I was
Nick,
like, I know people joke on him, but I was like, yeah, Knicks. But I was like, he's not as old as you. He's not Case Keenum. I was like, y'all got to stop
yeah,
acting like this man is
he's
Case
not
Keenum.
he's not
They
Chris
had the
Wick.
they had the
He
great
ain't
they
Chris
had the gray
Wiggins, nothing like
shirt,
that.
the gray shirt, the medical red shirt, another medical red shirt, and it's like those guys that do that. Like I remember, I know one of my professors was at Ohio State. He was like, Ohio State was known to give a guy a gray shirt and let them guys work up and develop, and that those days are done. And I want to say after we get all of the C19 kids gone, that's when we're going to see how the portal and everything shakes out. That's going to be key. And I do think you may start seeing the guys that want to play, you're going to see guys go to lower levels or lower tier schools and knowing this is just a stop. I'm about to ball out and then I'm about to transfer. I do think because it's already happened naturally because you wasn't recruited by these schools, but I think you will see that if you keep pushing these kids to not play. That's going to be something to happen. But
So I want to throw a curveball since we got E and KP on here. And what's up, Chris? Appreciate you for joining us. What do y'all think about this whole? I know me and Dante talked about it several weeks in the past, but what do y'all think about this whole realigning of these conferences? And like I mentioned before, I think this is the best season the Pac-12 has had in years. They damn near about to be extinct. They literally dead conference walking. And you got these teams in California literally joining conference with these teams on the East Coast. So how do y'all feel
what's
about
going on,
all
Crystal?
this realignment of these
What's
conferences?
going on,
It's
Mr.
just
Bennett?
really territorial. It just don't make no sense.
I think so. The first thing is now, since they have, if you understand the playoff system is totally different, right? You can't take a loss. So what we saw is Georgia go from having Alabama, LSU, Florida State, and they'll play like Clemson. All this was on Georgia's schedule before we changed this conference up. I look at it as a very good thing, and I look at it as a very bad thing because I'm a balanced person, right?
Hmm.
Very good thing. We start to see exposure from teams that never had a chance to be on the main stage, right? So I think it's going to help the portal. So when we're going to the future, I can go and look like a team play Georgia and see how you perform against a team like this. And when that person going to the portal next year, I can pull talents from that, right? So it's going to expose and give people more lights. We saw people start going down to small teams we never heard about. That was like the big talk of the first 3 weeks. It's like, how did they lose to this team we never heard about, right? So it's good exposure for the little teams. It's really bad exposure for the big teams because the big teams it really comes down to it is that you're not even trying in the season. Like we seeing people get blown out so bad, it's like, why did I even spend my money to come to this game? It's not even worth me spending my money to or watching. Y'all got these games we're turning at the second quarter, first quarter, go, it was like, yeah, this game over, it's no reason. I don't think we see the competition anymore. The reason Colorado football been so good, it looked like every game been a close game where they can compete. But if you don't watch the Georgia game, really after the first half, you're cutting it off. If you ever watch some of these top tier, it's not even a competition. They're not playing. The SEC, the crazy part about Georgia is we don't even pay half of the people in the SEC, and we're in the SEC. Like, that's a problem. How are we going to be a part of a conference and we're not even playing them throughout the season? So I think they're trying to get away from the conference, but it's like one of those things that college football is boring, and they're going to have to find a way to make the kid's name more important. Like we heard Travis
College football is supposed to be. It's supposed to be regional. It's supposed to be. I'm playing
Yeah,
this team. I have this
yeah,
rivalry. So it's gonna get weird. Like I know SMU here in Texas. SMU is a private school in Dallas. TCU is a private school in Fort Worth. They've been playing for 100 years. Like they just a few years ago had the 100. It was the battle for the Iron Skillet. Now I think TCU won it this year, and I think they might play next year. Then after that, it's going to be on hiatus for a while because SMU they didn't get the Big 12 invite. So I know that they're sour about they didn't get the Big 12 invite. And TCU took their coach, and after taking their coach, they went to the national championship. You know,
hmm
regardless of what Georgia did to him now, but you had that much success by taking him. Now they're in the ACC playing Duke and Duke and Carolina and Clemson. So it's like it's getting really weird. But I'm happy about it in the sense we're finally honest about what college football is about. Yes, the tradition is great on one sense, especially on the smaller levels. Like I went to a HBCU that's a FCS, FCS. So it's just like while it's still traditions and everything, it's still Division I football. So you care and it's more regional, but you also, so you get that feel. But now at the Power Five level, you don't really get that anymore, and that's going to go away. You got conferences. Everybody's trying to money grab, and I think eventually it's going to show that hey, for the people that can't really compete at that level at the Power Five, I think they're going to break these contracts and get back into things that are more regional. Now at the top level, yeah, you're going to see USC and UCLA and them because they took some West Coast teams with them. You're going to see those mega conferences, and then I think you're going to see everyone else kind of branch and go back into what they're normally used to, seeing those traditional rivals. As long as people realize that, hey, this is not working for us. It just has to take probably another probably like a 5 to 10 year window for them to see like this isn't working. Like we've seen this before, like the WAC TC used to be in the WAC, and now that conference is like back again. It's like what? Like the conference just went away. So that's why, like with the Pac-12 thing, as much history they have and as strong as they were, I wouldn't be surprised if those teams kind of reach out and be like, maybe not USC and them because they're the money schools, but I think everyone else might navigate and circle back.
But you got to understand that this system is good for football because they're making a
Yeah,
only
lot more money.
football.
they're
Like
making a
if you
ton of
look
money.
at,
It's all about
huh?
it.
Yeah, so if you look at, it's good for football, right? It's just not good for. It's almost like if you ever had a job and they do a new change and the old way was just so good, and even though the company making more way, the people of the past are going to like the old way. What we know is the newer generation is going to fall in love with this, is because that's all they're going to know. We hear this about basketball. It's like back in the day,
Hmm.
it was so much better. If you talk to an 18-year-old, he have no idea what you're talking about when you say back in the day, right? He just have his new reference of people shooting 3-pointers from half court. He think that's the best of basketball. So we're going to adjust because the generation is going to adjust. But I think what really is going to have to happen is I really want to see these guys take it to the next level. When these guys start graduating and going into the draft, I think we're going to have a weaker draft class than we have ever had because the point of college was supposed to be fierce, it's supposed to be hard, it's supposed to be highly competitive. And I think when they get to the NFL, it's going to be a totally different level that they're not ready for. But I'm just speculating.
Well, hell, since you brought up the NFL, KP, I don't know if you want to add anything about the alignment. 'Cause I was about to give
Yeah, I
you
think
can.
I
You go
think with
ahead.
the alignment change is going to change everything. But I'm kind of surprised that they still did it, being that we've had all the things that happened to the economy, and the teams still did it. Being that some teams are going to go from California to the East Coast on trips, and that's going to be the normal during these
Like he
economic
said, it's
times.
football. It's football.
Yeah, it's
It's once a
football.
week. They're not worried about how basketball is going to do. They're not worried about the softball team. And if anybody
Yeah,
complains, football is funding it all. Because most
you
people,
know what?
the most
And I think some
that's
of those
that's
programs are going to get cut, man. They're going to start getting cuts.
Well, I don't know about cuts because they still generate a lot of
Boy, them get
revenue.
ruthless.
I don't know if they're gonna get rid of football programs. I think that's like a far fetched
No, not the football programs. I'm saying the other programs that are attached to it, because football bring the money. Everybody
No,
else,
see,
they gonna start cutting some of their stuff.
it's almost like WNBA football. The NBA bringing all the money, and the WNBA is like pays off those things. So we still gonna see basketball. We still gonna see certain things. That's just gonna happen, especially at
Yeah,
D1
that's
school.
like KP saying. That's a lot of that's a big trailer. Them football teams got to drag behind them because you got
yeah.
basketball teams,
It's
both the men and women, volleyball, golf, bowling, all
baseball,
this other stuff.
golf.
Everybody making this sacrifice because the football team.
But
So
I,
but
the
I, I
bowling
think
but
got
it's
to
you
gonna be
be
like
understand
you.
it's
overseen.
bringing more money into the school. So you
Yeah,
got to
they better
understand.
bring a whole lot.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
you know how like. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like me having a track team, it's not all about the track team and what their track team is producing. It's all the people that come to compete. They remember most of those. See, if you understand how the scholarship work, most of the people on the team are not on scholarship, so they're paying. It's almost revenue coming into the school, and a lot of people don't understand how people are paying to go to college to play these sports. It's almost something that attract. But I appreciate y'all guys having me. I got another meeting I got to get into in like 2 minutes, but this was a great conversation. I'm definitely gonna come over so we can have some more conversation.
Hey, appreciate
Appreciate
you
that,
for
eat man.
joining us, man. Appreciate
Take it
that.
easy, man.
Salute.
But I'll make the last point on that. Before we get to the NFL, because I know we want running down here. Eventually it will be football only. Like you know how I'm trying to think. I'll just use Georgetown off the top of my head. I did not know until I got older they were not a big power Division 1 school. Their other sports are probably what maybe FCS. They're going to be at a different level than the basketball team is. Just because I always wondered, man, they football team doesn't. You're not gonna hear about them because they're at this different tier level because only this sport is gonna be it. Like you'll see it. I want to say realignment before teams that came over and they were gonna be football only or basketball only, and I
UConn
think
was
that's
like
what we're
that
going
too,
to
right?
see.
UConn had the D1 basketball program, but I
Yeah,
believe their football program was like a D2 or D1
it
double
Yep,
it
A.
be
yep.
it
That's the
became
only one
Division
I've
One.
seen
It
recently that grew
became
to
Mm-hmm.
D1. Yeah. hmm
So
Remember
yeah,
Dan Dan
it
Orlovsky?
became
Dan
Division One.
Orlovsky went to UConn.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I was
what's the
hearing
name
about
with
that
the
in my
UConn from
first
the
take.
Cowboys? Byron Jones. Byron Jones was from UConn. It's just
Yep.
like you get guys that come few and far between. But speaking about football, I know we got to recap it real quick. And I saw it in the chat. I know Will Good said it. It was a crazy weekend in sports, and it really was. It was one of them any given Sunday type of deals. Like
Field
I did
goal
not
kicker.
know. I did not know that Deshaun Watson wasn't playing because I wish I could have seen it. I wanted to see Big Trent Williams against Myles Garrett. And in fact, the 49ers ended up losing, but he said it. He was hurt. And he was like, he kind of was polite. He was like, I didn't want my backup to have to go basically go as this future Hall of Famer. He knows he's going to the Hall of Fame. He's like, that's good on good. Or well, great on great, actually. He didn't want to leave that out there. But the Browns defense, I guess, made enough plays, and obviously the field goal kicker missed the field goal at the end. And you had the Eagles like Jalen Hurts, as good as he is, I'll say 2 picks. They still count as three, but one of them when I saw, I was like, oh, he caught that ball, bounced off of him. That still counts against him. But the 3 turnovers or 4 because that someone else fumbled. That's a recipe to lose to a lesser team. So that he lost that one, and it was just one of those deals. I want to say the Dolphins was down 14-0 early before they came back and beat the Panthers. It was one of those Sundays where those Sundays do happen. It absolutely happen. And people are gonna overhype some stuff, or people, and I did remember Nick Wright said something like this. Every time we've crowned somebody this season, they come out and took a bad loss. He said we
Well, the
crowned the
main
Cowboys and
one
came
was
out and lost to the
Brock Purdy.
Cardinals.
Brock Purdy, and I was like, my whole thing is with Brock Purdy because you have some people out there putting his name in the MVP type discussion, even if it was at the bottom of the list, but it was in the discussion, mainly basically because he was playing at the time for an undefeated team and he was actually producing. So if you're a quarterback and you playing for the best team and you producing, your name is gonna be up there. Now how long it remains to be seen. But he was in that position like he couldn't afford to make any mistake. Like Josh Allen, I believe what is Buffalo record right now? 4-2.
I think they lost 2. I think they lost 2.
Yeah, it's 4-2. They lost in London to Jacksonville, and then they lost to the Jets. That was definitely a schedule loss.
So Josh Allen, for example, will still have a chance to be MVP if he just plays the next 11 games on fire. Brock Purdy, because he had that bad game before that last drive against the Browns, he only had 95-yard passing. So because he had that bad game, he probably must eliminate himself from the MVP voting already.
It's going to be hard for him to win because it's a quarterback award, and I
hate that.
He has a Hall of Fame left tackle. He has a probably Hall of Fame defensive end. I mean, and if Debo continues, he possibly got a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
He has multiple positions
all
pros
back.
at least. He has multiple all pros.
Okay, and then McCaffrey is just under that. So
he let's be real about what he is, and this is what he is. He is a game manager. He is a really good game manager. He can do that, and there's nothing wrong with it. But game managers don't usually win MVPs. So that's the thing.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. Yeah,
McCaffrey.
Yeah, they don't.
McCaffrey should get the MVP love. Tua should get MVP love.
Tyreek Hill
he's making the plays. Tyreek Hill, because they always, like you said, Tyreek Hill. I think he's a few yards from 1,000 at this point. He's killing it, and I want to say we've got to stop leaving him out of the conversation of one of the best receivers. I know you can say, oh, it's speed, it's this, it's that. Hey man, that guy, he produced with one of the great quarterbacks we've had in our league in a long time, and Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Nobody was just saying how great Tua was. He gets with Tua, and obviously the coordinator as well. I mean, the head coach McDaniel, and he's really producing. So it's like put him up there with Chase Jefferson. I know Jefferson's hurt right now.
Yeah, he's up there with all those guys.
He's got to be up there with them guys, man.
Yeah, he's already won a Super Bowl, and he's already ran out. He's ran out the coverage. He's always able to run out the coverage more than any of those guys.
I think he's the most feared weapon in football right now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you get him a bubble screen crazy. And it's over. If he catches the ball on the bubble screen, he can go.
Because a lot of people, I had somebody try to tell me that he's just a speed guy. I'm like, no, he's a receiver with speed, and he is not only he has
and his agility,
up and down speed. Yes, he's agile. He's a game breaker. He's just not like a McCole Hardman. He has speed, but he ain't nowhere near a Tyreek Hill level.
No, he's not Tyreek Hill level athlete. No.
Exactly.
There's a lot of guys with great speed.
Tyreek is that dude. Tyreek, he's pretty much going to be a future Hall of Famer. But I think if Tyreek could potentially go on and have a 2,000 receiving yard season,
he got it this year.
They still won't give him the MVP award.
Yeah,
they'll give it to Tua before they give it to him.
And that's what's crazy because Tua's having a success because of him. We've got to change it to where it's like, okay, we understand how important the quarterback is, but I know we went and we had the conversation a few weeks ago about the running back, which I want to circle back to that because I saw one of the YouTubers I follow. He made a really good video about it. I'm gonna share it with you in the chat. But it's like you gotta stop focusing on just these quarterbacks. Like that basically you need to make them. You're turning this into baseball where the pitchers don't get MVP, they get the Cy Young. The other position players get the MVP. We're almost to that point in football where it's just like, hey man, we gotta legitimately think about this because if Tyreek does get this 2K, which he's on pace for, and he stays healthy, we gotta really give him some more credit for that. But I don't know. It's one of those times where I know we're in the NFL where we get that point where we're hitting the bye weeks. Things are getting kind of weird, but if you're looking at it, some teams are starting to rise to the crop. Some teams are starting to fall down.
Which always happens. That's why I don't put too much weight on the first 4 weeks of the season. Everybody likes to talk about playoffs,
Yeah,
and it's a whole another
you
three-fourths of
just
the
can't
season
lose too
left.
many games in the first few
You
weeks.
can't
Can't lose too
because you
Exactly,
many.
can't. That's the
exactly.
thing. You can't unless you're proving that you can do it and you have immense talent. The Bengals can do it because that's a team that's made deep runs, so they can do it. But teams like the Lions were a team that's 5-1 now. They needed to get out to that start. So when they get some of those losses, like this week, they play the Ravens. A team. You got to be able to get in there and fight and have that record. That's why for me it was huge. That's why last week I didn't give a prediction. I was like the Cowboys need to come out and win. You don't need to go into the bye going into a loss because you feel like you lost twice. And you need to be able to you win that game. Go to the beach. Take your wife or your girl, whatever, your kids. Go and get that time to relax, heal your body, and then you come back. So at 4-2, hey, you feel a lot better about yourself. You want to be in that freight where you can contend because you never know. See, like I said, or Niners lost, the Eagles lost. You want to be in that because the Cowboys will see a gauntlet where they're gonna. The Rams, I don't know what they are, but they are gonna play the Lions late in the season. They're gonna play the Dolphins, I think, on Christmas Eve. Still got to go to Buffalo and play the Bills. You got some tough games. That's why that Arizona loss hurt. You gotta handle your business. And there's a lot of teams out there right now. It's like these games come back and matter. Where it's like, hey, you lost that game in the second quarter, come back tiebreakers, man. Uh, man, Mr. Bennett, I'm not gonna lie, in the Metroplex, it's really like Ranger fever, like for real. Like they're getting a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
attention.
it's dominating the state right now. It's dominating the
It's
state.
dominating. It's crazy because you almost everybody knows someone from the other part. It's getting a lot of a buzz. We're glad that it's getting a national stage. I'm literally got the game. Like, I know Shotty has it. I know I had it the other day. I'm like waiting to get out of work because I'm like, man, I got my tablet set up and I'm ready to watch. It's crazy. Like I literally Sunday, the Cowboys didn't play till Monday. I had my game refreshments for the baseball game. I had my beer, I had my queso, I had my wing, I had that for the baseball game to lock in. So it's really catching on. It really is, and like which is good because these two teams have never been this good at the same time. It's never
Yeah,
happened. It's historic.
because everybody. Because a lot of times, especially with ESPN, I watch a lot of ESPN, but ESPN is real heavy on the East Coast bias. So all you hear about these baseball traditions is Yankees versus Red Sox. Here in the South, honestly, we can really care less about it. I mean, we can really care less about it now when it comes to the two teams in the state. Texas, the Rangers versus the Astros wasn't really a thing because the Astros used to be in the NL. And then when the Astros made the move to the AL and they went through three straight 100 loss seasons, Texas was the up and up team in the AL West. And then all of a sudden it shifts. So, and then as you know, for the last 7 years or so, it's been all about the Astros. But now this is the first time, like Dante said, like both teams are kind of meeting each other. Hell, they finished the season tied, and it was just
Time.
Houston got the division based on a tiebreaker. So both teams are now finally able to look at each other eyeball to eyeball. Now you got both fan bases. It's a relatively new rivalry. The rivalry in baseball is new, but I don't like to say hatred because I think that's too strong a word, but it is what it is. The hatred between the cities always exists. Houston
It's
versus
always been
Dallas.
chippy.
Hell, I went to PV and I don't know how much times I can tell you how much
Same.
times Houston versus Dallas fight broke out at a
All the
party or
time.
something. It that always exists. So now you got these two teams representing they two respective cities, and they don't. It's like in football, it will be the Texans and the Cowboys, but because they're in two different conferences, they only play each other once every 4 years. So that's like that rivalry won't really be super established unless the two teams meet each other in the Super Bowl. They just don't play each other
Yeah.
enough. But now because the Astros and the Rangers are in the same division, they already play each other 17 times a year, and
Yeah.
now that they both in this ALCS together for the first time, oh yeah, it's dominating the state.
It's, it's
Cal-
going it's going to
Matter
a
of
new
fact,
level next year.
with the game two was on what was that Monday? They had
Yeah,
that
game two is on
in
Monday.
the afternoon. Astros Rangers in the afternoon. Then the Cowboys played at the evening for Monday Night Football. Well, hell, a lot of people were just so stuck on the Rangers winning that game. I mean, yes, Cowboys are Cowboys in DFW, but they was
No
so
doubt.
they was on a high. They was on a
It was
high from
it
the
was
Rangers game that if the Cowboys would have lost, let's say after that loss they had against the 49ers, it would have been upset fans, but there have been a lot of fans who were like, okay, because they were so high on the Rangers win. So right now the Rangers Astros series it's dominating the state. It's just dominating the state. I use that as my
Yeah,
final thoughts as well.
man. My final thoughts, man. Because by the time we come back for our show next Wednesday, the series will be over. Whether it goes to seven,
World Series
but
be starting there.
yeah, it'll be World Series started. So I don't know. I'm really interested to see how it ends. Obviously, I'm going with the hometown team, so I think we're gonna pull it out. Obviously, this game being down 5-0, I hope they can scrap and claw back. But I think this the Houston might get their first crawl this one, and then the next two are still here in
Oh,
Arlington. So
I was telling
no,
folks, I was already telling folks at work. I said I would not be surprised if Houston sweep these 3 games on the road because they've been that type of team all season. They cannot. They play a whole lot better. They had little graphics showing during the game explaining that they play a whole lot better on the road, especially this building. Oh, that offense just get just
they
rejuvenated
dominate in
and
this
play in
building.
Arlington. But then I was like, okay, they win all 3 in a row. That means they got to still win at least one game back in Houston. And I was like, that's the trouble. The offense quiets itself when they play in Houston, which is weird. But I was saying that to the folks at work when they on that high. They on that Rangers up 2-0. And I'm like, oh, okay. I know how this team plays on the road. I know how they play in that particular building. They get rejuvenated. So I would not be surprised if they come in there and sweep all 3. It's just been that kind of a year for them. But right now it's working out good. I hope they can stay on this path. But this what they call it, the Silver Boot
Yeah,
series.
Silver
You've
Bowl.
seen some wild things happen in this series, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Can't wait to. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying the ride for this one. We'll see how it goes. But I know we out of time. We gotta make way for Mantrell and Company. So,
Hmm.
hey man, we appreciate everybody coming out from E-Man, KP. I appreciate everybody
Yeah,
doing good.
appreciate it.
Everybody in
We
this on the
had
chat.
other stuff we
Well,
want to try to get into this,
but we
but once
kind of
that college
got into.
football got rolling,
Like I
I was like, hey
said,
man,
Coach
let's roll with it. Let's
that
roll
coach
with
that Coach Prime draw, man. The Coach Prime draw.
it.
So we
Let's
appreciate
roll with it,
everybody
man.
who. Man, I'm Dante, man.
No, I'm about to say they just booted us off the screen, man. But
uh,
no, man. Yeah, we appreciate y'all for being with us one more week, and I'm excited. We'll see y'all next week.
peace.
Peace.